Vladimir Lenin in 1920 declared abortion legal. In fact, he not only declared it legal, he encouraged Russian women to get abortions. That was after, of course, the Communist Party officially denounced marriage and family as bourgeois institutions and compared having sex to being no more important than having a drink of water. The average Russian woman has 7 abortions over her reproductive lifetime. That's the legacy of communism. That's the legacy that modern-day Russia has to put behind it once and for all. You know, as a boy, the Soviet Union always loomed very large in my mind, in part because I was a rocket enthusiast. But to actually be here walking among what are really the ruins of Imperial Soviet Union is amazing. A few things have survived. I mean, the statues still look beautiful and golden in the sunlight, but most of the buildings are crumbling beyond repair and are just facades that hide flea markets. The Soviet Empire built these huge monumental buildings in order to impress the world with their accomplishments. They were shoddily built, and when you go inside, you notice there was no care taken of the workmanship. And now they've been converted into little capitalist havens. It's a cross between a shopping center and a kind of flea market where hundreds of Russians have little shops buying and selling goods. So behind me we have another monument to Soviet communism. This huge figure, probably 75 feet tall, of the new socialist man and the new socialist woman. But what's striking to me about this man and the woman is that they're not looking at each other. There's no sense that they're bonded together. There's no sense that there's a family. And there's certainly no children. It's a barren display of men and women working. That was Soviet communism yesterday, and hopefully Russia's future will be different. The birth rate has gone up in the last few years in Russia. After Vladimir Putin in 2003 declared that there was a demographic crisis in the country, a few years later he put in place a $9,000 baby bonus. So the population is not declining quite as fast as it did before. But obviously the government needs to do more. Why was the Moscow Demographic Summit necessary?
It was the first demographic summit whatsoever to be held, and the location in Moscow is also very symbolic. First, because Russia is facing very serious demographic problems. We're losing almost 750,000 people every year, and the birth rate per woman is 1.2, while the replacement level necessary to maintain the old generations to replace them is 2.1, so we're almost 2 times less. There are many reasons behind it, and first that it started in the beginning of the 20th century when Russians in big numbers started to lose faith. So atheism and these communist liberal ideas to revolutionize the whole life prevailed, unfortunately, and Russia was the first country to legalize abortion right after the revolution. And there was a strong radical feminist movement. They said that children should be brought up by the government, by the special house, and the wives should be common to anyone. In the Soviet Union, everyone was squeezed in very small apartments, and abortions were very, very common, unfortunately. In the last 20 years, it is estimated that almost around 80 million abortions were made. It's amazing. I mean, it's terrible.
So Russia would have, instead of 140 million, would have
Yes.
220 million people alive today. And Russia's a huge country.
Yes.
It's twice the size of the United States,
Yeah.
has abundant natural resources, you need people to develop your resources. You need
Right.
people to develop
Right.
the economy.
Yes.
Without people,
Yeah, nothing will happen.
nothing. Yeah.
And the huge territories of Siberia and Far East, there's no one living there, and people move to Moscow. According to the last census, Moscow population grew substantially by 1 million or more to 12 million people now. So people all concentrate here because better life, more salaries, and the huge territories rich of resources get deserted, and no one to maintain. It's a very, very big issue.
I'm here with Philip Longman at the Moscow Demographic Summit. Dr. Longman is well known for his work on demographics, including his best-selling book, The Empty Cradle. And I guess we should start by asking, what are you here in Russia to tell the Russian people to do? What do you think they should do in terms of policy?
Russia has a terrible birth rate. There's little signs of it getting better recently, and they are doing some things to encourage more people to have children. They are readjusting their welfare states so that parents get some benefits from the government for having children. They could just as well lower taxes on parents as the more American approach, as you well know. I think in the end, these kind of approaches are helpful, but probably not enough to turn the boat around. Governments going far as back as Caesar Augustus have tried these various pronatal programs, and generally the example of history is that they don't work very well, and that ultimately it's a matter of faith and spirit that determines how many people or how many children people decide to have. That's not something a government can really do. It's something a society can do.
What happens now? What is Russia going to do in practical terms from here on out to change the culture of death
Right.
into a culture of life?
This whole pro-family topics are getting big momentum in Russia right now, and the demographic summit was a catalyst. It pushed the progress forward. Another big project is that we just started the new federal network of medical centers that don't do abortions as a matter of principle.
What about sterilization? What about
Yes.
contraception and so forth?
We
Have
will
you
not
taken a
do-
position on that?
Yes, we've taken a position on that, and in terms of bioethics, which is a big issue, we will be fully in line with the Catholic Church, with the Russian Orthodox Church on social issues. We have a social concept of a Russian Orthodox Church approved on the big Congress in 2000, and the Catholic Church approach and the conservative Protestant and other conservative faiths, Abrahamic biblical traditions. We will not perform anything that is against the pro-family approach, pro-life approach.
I'm talking with Mr. Alexander Smirnov, who is the chief executive of Earlship Corporation, which has a very interesting and pro-natal company policy.
They have a special policy that for every client of their bank, and they're one of the biggest banks in Russia, for every new child born, they decrease the interest level on the mortgages and loans that people take to build their houses or to improve their living conditions or whatsoever. When the new child is born, they decrease the interest that they pay by 0.5%, which is a substantial financial bonus.
И если понимать, что у нас примерно 4,5 миллиона заемщиков таких, то надо понимать, какие это деньги. Это, в общем, не
And
маленькие
taking
деньги.
into account that they have a growing number of people, clients, 4.5 million of such mortgage loan takers they have in their portfolio, you can imagine that it's quite a big sum of money that they're investing in this. And I think it's a very unique thing.
That's a very unique policy, very important. We're here at the Moscow Demographic Summit, and we've got lots of young people attending the event. They're Catholic or Russian Orthodox, they're people of faith. So it's hardly a representative sample, but I thought we'd go around and ask a few of them if they wanted to marry. I think the answer will be yes to that question. And when they marry, how many children they would like to have. So, come on, let's go. How old are you?
22.
22. Yes. When did you get married? Last year? This year?
Last year.
Last year. How many children do you think you and your wife would like to have?
I think three.
Three.
Two guy and one girl.
How many children do you have?
One.
One child.
Yeah.
How many children would you like to have, you and your wife?
I think 3.
3? Boys or girls, or it doesn't matter?
I think it doesn't matter.
How many children would you like to have?
Well, minimum 3.
Minimum of 3. Okay. 2. And you? 2. 1. And you? 2. Let's see. Oh, we have some more victims over here. 2. 2. Oh, he says 5. So is the largest number 5? The smallest number was 1. The largest number is 5. 11. You want to have 11 children? There's the future of Russia, right there. Yeah. Your average fertility of this group is about 3 children. You see 2, 2, and 2, and 5, and 11. 11 raises the average. And if you all average 3 children, then Russia has a great future. Thank you. What are you personally doing to help repopulate Russia? You're married? How many children
Yes,
do
I'm
you
married.
have?
I have 4 children, and the youngest boy, Dmitry, he just has 1 month ago was born. So our words go with our deeds.
So you're actually, your birth rate is 3 times the Russian average.
Yes, exactly.
A little more. Are you done? You think your wife? You
No,
and your
we're
wife
still
will have
working
more
on
children?
that. We're still working on that. If God allows, then we will proceed.
Good.